Today on NBC Sports, it's a doubleheader baseball day. For the first half, it's the Cincinnati Reds in Montreal. They'll be facing Al Oliver and the Expos. Montreal, red hot, they've won 7 straight games. Or the Chicago White Sox. They're battling for first place as they meet Cleveland. The White Sox and Lamar Hoyt, he's 9-0. He'll be trying to stop the slugging Cleveland Indians and Bake McBride. Later today, the Milwaukee Brewers travel to Anaheim, new home of Reggie Jackson, as they challenge the first-place Angels. Or it's the National League Western leaders, the hot Atlanta Braves. They'll be trying to stop the charge of Gary Matthews and the Philadelphia Phillies. Plus highlights from other games throughout the day. But first up, it's Major League Baseball, an inside look with a report on career-threatening rotator cuff injuries and its latest victim, Rick Burleson. All today on NBC Sports. NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball, an inside look at baseball and a preview of today's Game of the Week. Brought to you by Light Beer from Miller, everything you always wanted in a beer, and less. And by Wagner Power Painter, the airless paint sprayer that's faster and easier than a brush or roller. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Olympic Stadium in Montreal on a beautiful baseball day, and greetings from NBC, a big doubleheader of baseball action for you. The emphasis will be on pitching in the opening games you'll see today here in Montreal for Cincinnati. Tom Seaver, one of the game's greats, 1-6, ERA near 7. Is it a 37-year-old pitcher getting too old, or, as Tom says, maybe it's just his mechanics? We'll watch him closely. He goes against the best pitching team in the National League, Montreal, and they've won 7 in a row. And in Cleveland, Chicago's Lamar Hoyt, 9 straight wins. For that story, let's go to Jay Randolph.
Thanks, Dick Enberg. Here in Cleveland, we visit with Lamar Hoyt, a man who today goes for his 15th consecutive victory. And I read the other day where you said it's just another baseball game.
Yeah, really, it's just another game to me. I'm out there trying to do the same things I always have to be successful at getting guys out, and that's the way I'm going to approach the game.
You battled your way out of the bullpen, and you've really done a splendid job. Some of the fellows that I talk to talk about your slurve. They say it's a half curve and a half slider.
Yeah, well, it's a big breaker. I throw a variety of breaking balls. That's just one of them. And I throw a fastball that runs in and out. So if they're looking for either one, I got something to counter with.
Lamar, are you thinking a little bit about the record? The American League record, 17. The Major League record, 24. You're going for 15 today?
Well, basically, I'm just taking them one at a time. I'm just trying to get by these guys right now. And if I can do that, then that'll be fine.
The item that I'm most interested in is your maturity and the poise that you have, and it's come to you over the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, that's something that comes with age, fortunately. You learn a little bit as you get older, and maybe you get a little bit better as the years wear on, and if your arm holds up, you should be able to do pretty good, with the experience you get. So just try to make the most out of it and take it as far as you can, really.
We look forward to seeing you here this afternoon. Let's go back to Montreal and Bob Costas.
Jay, Tony Conigliaro had been in a coma for almost 4 months after suffering a near-fatal heart attack, and doctors held out little hope for any kind of significant improvement. However, this week, almost miraculously, Tony spoke his first coherent words as he said hello to his mother, and now there is cautious optimism about continued improvement, even though doctors caution that a complete recovery is still very unlikely. Tony C's story tops our News of the Week. Tony C's story has been one of promise and loss. Once the youngest player to lead the American League in homers, he was struck by a Jack Hamilton pitch in 1967. And despite a valiant comeback try which met with some success, he was never really the same player again. On Tuesday night in San Diego, Ferguson Jenkins became the 7th man to reach the 3,000 strikeout plateau, fanning the Padres' Gary Templeton, and a standing ovation for Fergie from the Padre fans. Not so happy was Jenkins' manager, Lee Elia. Another Cubs star, Bill Buckner, has claimed that he's been thrown at a lot of late. He wants Elia and other Cub pitchers to protect him. When he felt they weren't, he got into a shoving match in the dugout with Elia, but at week's end, both parties said it was all okay. And Dave Winfield's Winfield Foundation is suing Yankee owner George Steinbrenner for almost $3 million for allegedly not complying with an agreement that the Yankees contribute the $3 million over 10 years to the foundation, which provides health care and tickets to ball games to underprivileged kids. Foundation lawyers claim only $155,000 was donated by the Yanks. Yankee lawyers say the rest has been withheld because there was some question about how the funds were distributed and who sits on the foundation's board. But according to Winfield Foundation lawyers, those differences were previously resolved to Steinbrenner's satisfaction. Well, Winfield and Steinbrenner may differ as to how the foundation does its work, but there's no dispute that the payments have not been made on schedule. More interestingly, what will this do to the 8.5 years which still remains on Winfield's contract and his relationship with the boss? Now, when we return to Olympic Stadium in Montreal, we'll hear the most dreaded words in any ballplayer's vocabulary: rotator cuff injury. Stay with us.
I'm Johnny Bench. This is Krylon Spray Paint, the other leading national brand. And here comes my fast pitch, so watch close. Krylon Special Formula goes on smooth, just like a professional finish. And just 12 minutes later, it's dry to the touch. No runs, no drips, no errors. The other brand's still tacky after 1 hour. Let's see it again. Krylon dry after 12 minutes, other brand still tacky after 1 hour. Did you catch that? Krylon, for a smooth, fast professional finish.
This guy owns a sleek weed eater trimmer with its top-mounted gas engine. This guy bought another brand with the engine down here. So instead of all the controls and starter at his fingertips, he's got this. Instead of an engine that can't be bumped when cutting close, he's got this. And Weed Eater's engine is up and away from flying grass and dust, not down in them. So when you can have a trimmer that keeps you on top, why stoop to anything else? Weed Eater, on top for a lot of good reasons.
Light beer from Miller tastes just great, and that's no fish story. But the best thing is, it's less filling. Light's got 1/3 less calories than their regular beer, and that's important when you're trying to land that big one. Like yesterday, I hooked this bass, fought him for over 6 hours. All of a sudden, he jumps clean over the boat. Broke my rod, and I had to tie the... No, wait a minute, fellas. I had to tie the line off.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Left me out there with nothing but a paddle.
The rotator cuff injury, it seems to be the baseball affliction of the 70s and 80s. Usually, it affects pitchers, but players who play other positions are not immune, as the California Angels shortstop, the Rooster, Rick Burleson, found out.
I had cortisone shots throughout my career, and basically I averaged maybe 3 or 4 a year. It kept me in the lineup, so to speak, and I would get them when the pain was so severe or the tendon was so inflamed, and I knew that it wasn't a healer, but that it would shrink the swelling and it would allow me to play.
Rick Burleson had experienced pain in his arm before, but the cortisone injections had camouflaged the inevitable, a torn rotator cuff from too much stress.
As soon as I threw it, I knew that there was something wrong. It felt as if someone drove a nail into the back of my arm with a sledgehammer. 4 or 5 minutes later, when we had a double play ball, and I came across the bag and had to spin, and the throw sort of took me off towards the inside, that when I threw that ball, I knew that there was severe damage. I wasn't able to lift up my arm, and I had to come right off the field.
It has the potential of probably being a career-ending injury for many athletes, and in many cases it has been, but by the very nature of a rotator cuff tear, it's a devastating injury.
Dr. Louis Yoakum performed the surgery on Rick.
What we're talking about in the rotator cuff is the area of the shoulder. There's 4 basic muscles that come in and form a cuff-like tendinous group around the shoulder, which is called the rotator cuff.
Rick suffered what is called a level 3 tear of about 1 centimeter, which is serious enough to end a career.
You read so much about this injury, and not too many people have been able to come back from it, although most of them have been pitchers, and it's a lot tougher on them, I understand. But the way I looked at it, as hard as I throw, and many times as I throw a ball each day, and in the plays I have, I'm as close to being a pitcher as anybody as far as how hard I have to throw the ball.
No pitcher has been able to come back from the surgery yet. Well, not really. Wayne Garland is still trying in the minors. Steve Busby tried, but wasn't as effective as he was before the surgery. And Don Gullett's tear was so bad, he never pitched again. Clearly, Burleson has an uphill battle.
The thing we have to remember is that it's a long-term rehabilitation. We're talking at least 1 year to 1.5 years of intensive physical therapy following the surgery.
if I'm able to come back after the long rehabilitation program and many ups and downs in the next several months that I'm going to have, I might be better from it all. I might be able to play without pain that I've lived with on and off for the last 9 years, and I feel confident that I'm going to make it back, and I'm going to be a better player from this.
Fred Rogan, NBC Sports.
And Fred, while several pitchers struggle in the minors to try and come back from rotator cuff surgery, another pitcher who's had a different variety of arm ailments tries a comeback of his own. It's Mark the Bird Fidrich, who's now nesting in Pawtucket, a Red Sox farm team. We'll check in with the Bird when we continue after this.
Once you put motor on a can, you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't watch it work. So how do you know how good it is?
At Quaker State, we put it in writing. We back up our quality with a lifetime guarantee.
How do you know how good Quaker State is?
We guarantee every new car engine against oil-related failure for as long as you own your car. We put it in writing.
We're working to keep your car staying on the road.
How do you know how good Quaker State is? We put it in writing. No one else does.
17 hours. That's how long it took us to paint this house with the brush. Then we painted it in just 6.5 hours with the Wagner Power Painter. This wicker chair took over an hour, but less than 5 minutes with a Wagner Power Painter. A shutter that took 20 minutes, a Power Painter finished in only 3. It's a tool so versatile, it has a flexible spray tip and a way to draw paint right from a can. A Wagner Power Painter. It's the right tool for painting.
Powerful women attack the bar and assault the record books.
Plus, exciting martial artists drive flesh and bone through solid material. And the men's Churichi Cup gymnastics from Japan.
On NBC Sports World. Tomorrow.
Oh, my, Mark Fidrich was so special. Remember the rookie year, 1976, with the Tigers, 19-9, led the American League in ERA. They called him the Bird. The fans loved him, the way he talked to the baseball and smoothed the mound's dirt and cheered his teammates after a victory. Then, the problem that hits so many big league pitchers. They fear it, but it does happen. The sore arm, the wounded wing, and back to the minor leagues went Fidrich to try to get himself in shape. He's now pitching for the Boston Red Sox Farm Club in Pawtucket. And Mark the Bird Fidrich is now the subject of Dick McCormick's song about dreams of coming back.
This fear and the sadness rob us of our ease. The crazy twist of fortune that can bring us to our knees. They tell me in Pawtucket there's one bird tried to be young a little longer and eternally free. 'Cause we're tossed on the wind like a pitcher hurls the ball. So here's to you and here's to us all, with our eyes on the skies and our backs against the wall. Dreams are more than liars, they're birds that never fall. Here's to the proud ones, the eagles who know the light-headed heights, summers long ago. And here's to the brave ones who fall down and then rise up again and try again. 'Cause we're tossed on the wind like a pitcher hurls the ball. Here's to you and here's to us all, with our eyes on the skies and our backs against the wall. Dreams are more than liars, they're birds that never fall. And they tell me in Pawtucket there's one bird tried to be young a little longer and eternally free.
Poignant. The raw reality of it all is that fame is so fleeting for the athlete. It kind of saddens me because he brought so much happiness just a few years ago. Let's hope Mark Fidrich makes it back. Big day of baseball and a big story here in Montreal. Tom Seaver 1-6. Can he get his pitching game back together against the red-hot Expos? Some of you see Lamar Hoyt going for 10 in a row here in 1982. And in the second half of our doubleheader on NBC, Milwaukee against the Angels in California, and Atlanta and Philadelphia meet at Veterans Stadium.
Sunday, Rodman plants his son at the orphanage in order to close down the school.
He's got the information that came after.
Then, Ponch enjoys a movie assignment until a deadly menace threatens the cast on Chips. Then, Raquel Welch stars in a story of love and survival. The Legend of Walks Far Woman, a world premiere movie Sunday right after Father Murphy and Chips.
All you light beers out there, you've met your Mats.
New Mats Premium Light.
You can bring the light of care to a child in need. Please send your check or money order to CARE, Box 570, New York 10156, or local care office.
Together, all these room air cleaners cost more than $150. Norelco, Pollinex, Rushhampton, Remington, and Robeson. This is Clean Air by Ronco. Watch how the Ronco beats them all. All 5 against Ronco. After 3 minutes of removing smoke, Ronco wins easily. Over $150 worth of machines can't beat Clean Air by Ronco. Get the one that beats them all. Clean Air by Ronco.
Long blast to left field, his 9th home run of the year. And the Expos had a 4-2 victory. With the win, Montreal has stretched its string to 7 in a row, moving to within 4 games of first in the National League East. Cincinnati's defeat slammed the struggling Reds into last place in the West, 8 games under 500. Today, it's Tom Seaver, uncharacteristic 1-6 against Montreal's ace, Steve Rogers, 6-3, and the best ERA in the National League. NBC Sports presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. Today from Olympic Stadium, it's the Cincinnati Reds and the Montreal Expos. The Game of the Week is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer, who invite you to test drive the 1982 Ford Cars and Trucks. By Light Beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less. By Gillette, makers of Atra and Just Whistle razors. Gillette's best shave for both of you. And by Goodyear for more good years in your car. Beautiful day in Montreal. Olympic Stadium the scene. The Montreal Expos, 7 consecutive victories. Host the Cincinnati Reds. Hello, everyone. Dick Enberg with Bob Costas. Welcome to a big doubleheader of baseball on NBC. And today we'll see the right-hander Tom Seaver for Cincinnati.
14-2 a year ago. Uncharacteristically 1-6 this year. The ERA approaching 7 runs a game. Tom Terrific kind of symbolizes what's happened to the Reds early this season. 9 games back of Atlanta and in the basement in the National League West.
After losing last night 4-2. And in contrast, the Expos send out their ace right-hander Steve Rogers. He's 6-3 and leads the National League pitchers in ERA.
The Expos had a little bit of difficulty early. They had 16 different lineups in their first 33 games. Now they've settled on young Terry Francona behind the explosive Tim Raines in the number 2 spot, and they've won 7 in a row.
Montreal making its move. Good pitching and timely hitting. They host the Cincinnati Reds today. Tom Seaver trying to win his 2nd game of the year. We'll be back with the starting lineups in just a moment.
Now, there's a new concept in pickups that's turning the import world upside down. It's America's new size 83 Ford Ranger with gas mileage that beats the top-selling import. And Ranger also turns them inside out with a cab wider than any import. And Ford's exclusive twin I-beam. Ranger turns the imports right around with double-wall box sides. Don't try that with an import. Yes, the import world is being turned upside down by Ranger with 2-year Ford Care protection plus hundreds of dollars in cash back now.
You know, baseball's the same in Japan as it is in America. You played 9 innings. 3 strikes and you're out. And after the game, there's nothing like a beer. And when Numa's in town, I treat him to light beer from Miller because it tastes great. Yeah, I know it's less filling, but we drink it because it tastes great. Listen, Numa, it tastes great. All right, it's less filling.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer. And
Well, you set a record.
Yep. What pitcher ever gave up 34 runs in an inning?
You feel better after a shower.
I don't feel better.
Let me see that soap. Smells like medicine. Try this Coast.
Boy, Coast smells terrific. Feels terrific. I feel terrific. And look at this weather.
I feel so great. I'll be ready to pitch again tomorrow. You may be. I'm not sure baseball is.
No other soap picks you up quite like Coast, the eye-opener.
Suppose your loved one's heart and breathing stopped unexpectedly. Would you know what to do? The answer is CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
Don't stand by helplessly while a loved one is dying.
Help save a life. Learn the life-saving techniques of CPR. Call your local chapter of the American Red Cross or the American Heart Association for information about CPR training.
Learn the life-saving skills of CPR and help save a loved one's life. Baseball cares.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.